right, so the match ends 3-3. I told you there was some opinions going around. Thierry Henry saying, quote, "I know it's been like that." Speaking of the away goal rule, it's been like that for a very long time and we have to accept it. But off air, I was talking to Jamie Carragher and I was like, how can you score 3 goals away from home and you don't have an advantage? Away goals for me were massive. You score 3 goals away and you still don't have an advantage. 0-0 at home. Your chuckle says a lot, but I will ask you anyway. Do you agree with Thierry Henry, Ale, or should he get lost?
Get way lost. Get. And I mean,
go on, get.
Get. I tell you how you don't have an advantage if you score 3 away goals. Because you gave up 3 goals. Or do we forget that part? That part doesn't count?
Apparently you forgot about it, yeah.
All right. Look, a goal is a goal, it's a goal, it's a goal. And it should count the same here, there, in Mars, or anywhere. Let's go history lesson. Because why not? Because why not? Let's go to the facts. This was first brought in, the away goals, was first brought in 1965 in the European Cup Winners' Cup. Okay? The reason it was brought in was because back then, 1960s, 60 years ago, 1960s. All right? It was brought in because there wasn't an allotment of away supporters in visiting stadiums. That didn't exist because there wasn't the ease of travel that exists today to mobilize away supporters. And so there was no allotment of, hey, they got 5,000 people, 5,000 supporters, here's where they sit. No, that didn't exist in the 1960s. I think we can all agree that since the 1960 to 2025, 1965 to 2025, a lot of things have changed in the world. And ease of mobility.
60 years.
Yes, ease of mobility, in Europe in particular, has improved dramatically. Dramatically. So, look, if that's why it was brought in to begin with, that no longer applies. The other thing I would say, that's on a history lesson, but the other thing that I would say, whether there is empirical evidence or it's just maybe we think this is the way it works out and maybe the stats may back it up or not, what I can tell you is a game like we saw yesterday doesn't happen when the away goal rules was in full motion.
Yeah.
Why? Because when Inter scores that first goal, a minute in, if indeed the away goals rules was still part of what we do, they would have sat, and I mean sat, on top of their 18-yard box, and they're not coming out of there.
Of course.
Because they've already done the job.
Yeah.
And even if Barcelona come back and they win the game 2-1, I still think Inter would have believed, job done.
Yeah.
Because now we just go home, we win the game 1-0, and that's it. It's game, set, and match. The fact that it's now open, that a goal counts here, there, and everywhere, and they all count the same, it actually takes that cautious approach that you had not only from away teams, you had that cautious approach also from home teams in first legs when the away goals rule was, again, in full motion. None of it supports the argument made here by Thierry Henry. None of it.
Okay. Herc, thoughts?
I want to thank Ali for that history lesson because I honestly did not know that, and I think it's an important piece of information. I'm going to bring it to present day. CONCACAF is the only confederation in the world that still does the away goal rule. The CONCACAF Champions Cup, the tournament that Inter Miami was playing in before they got knocked out. Go back and look at some of those games. Look at the Galaxy versus Tigres in Los Angeles, 0-0. Look at Cruz Azul versus America in America's home, 0-0. It doesn't invite you to try and go out there and play if you're the home team. There's no incentive for you to attack. In fact, quite the opposite. You get punished for attacking. If you let in a goal, you're in an extreme disadvantage. So the home team would much rather sit and wait for the second leg to play things out. It's not attractive football. It's quite the opposite. So I would tell Thierry Henry here, he missed the mark. I think what he was trying to say is that if you scored 3 goals away from home against a team like Barcelona, You should have came out with more of an advantage. Yes, but the away goal rule is one of the worst rules right now in football. And I repeat, only CONCACAF still implements it. That's how backwards the Confederation is. But a long time ago, they should have gotten rid of it.
Yeah, so I'm glad to see that change at the highest level of European football, which is the UEFA Champions League. Because the away games, as you said, sometimes are really not as attractive as the second leg.
But why would you make it attractive if you are a team out on the field? Why would you take any chances?
Of course.
You don't have to.
Of course.
Why?
It's bad for the business also to bring back.
Yes. Why would you jeopardize your staying in the competition by giving up an away goal? Yeah. It doesn't support the logic of actually encouraging teams to go on attack. It actually supports the logic of teams saying, no, we're going to be right here because we're not going to take a chance going over there and make this into a back and forth. The idea of back and forth matches did not exist in that in that first leg.
Yeah.
And honestly, beyond all of that, how can we justify making one goal more important than another?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. A goal.
How in the world?
A goal is a goal.
This is not basketball. This is not a 3-point shot over a layup. No. A goal is a goal.
It's a goal.
It's a goal, and it counts the same.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, someone who knows
This is
that.
simple math, though.
Yeah,
simple math.
Absolutely. Someone who knows that really well. And let's dive into what we saw from Rafinha again being a standout for Barcelona. His confidence.